In the town of Luanga, where the sun rose over red earth and long fields of maize, lived a young man named Bako. He was clever, tall, and always full of big dreams. From the time he was a boy, Bako had wanted to be rich. He watched the traders who came from the city in their clean clothes and shiny cars, and he would whisper to himself, "One day I will live like that. I will not live like a poor man." Bako grew up in a small clay house with his mother and two younger sisters. His mother, Mama Leia, sold fruits at the market and worked hard every day to keep food on the table. Bako, however, did not like hard work. He hated waking up early to help his mother. He believed there was an easier way to make money. When he was older, he left for the city, promising to return a successful man. For 2 years no one heard much from him. Some said he was doing business, others said he was working for a rich man. But no one really knew. Then one bright morning Bako returned. He came into Luanga on a motorbike wearing new shoes, dark glasses, and a shiny gold watch. The villagers gathered around him, amazed at how different he looked. The children ran behind his motorbike shouting, "Bako is back! Bako is back from the city!" Even the old men at the tea stall stopped talking. Bako smiled proudly. "My friends," he said, "I have seen the ways of the city. I have learned how to make money, real money. And I want to share this chance with you." That evening he called for a meeting under the big tree near the market. Almost the whole village came. They sat on wooden benches and stones, listening as Bako stood in front of them with his fine clothes and confident smile. "I have started a new company," he announced. "It is called Bako Prosperity Investments. All you need to do is invest your money with me. In 1 month your money will double. You give me 1,000 shillings and I will give you 2,000 back." The people looked at one another in surprise. "Double the money?" someone asked. "Yes," Bako said, smiling. "I have city partners who trade goods and make fast profits. I just need investors to join in. Together we will all be rich." The crowd began to murmur with excitement. The idea of quick profit sounded like a dream. Many of them worked hard every day for little reward. They sold cassava, maize, or chickens, and the money was never enough. But here was a man from their own town, someone they knew since he was a boy, offering them a way to change their lives. Old Kato, who had always been careful with his money, raised his hand. "Bako, are you sure this is safe? How can money double so fast?" Bako laughed gently. "Ah, Baba Kato, that is the beauty of business. In the city people make money while they sleep. I am bringing that knowledge here. Trust me, I would never lie to my people." His words were smooth and his tone was warm. People wanted to believe him. They saw the motorbike, the watch, and the neat clothes. To them, Bako looked like success itself. The next day, Bako opened a small office near the market. He hung a sign that read Bako Prosperity Investments in bright blue paint. He placed a big wooden table inside, a chair, and some papers. Every day people came to see him. He spoke kindly, smiled often, and promised great things. "Your money will grow like maize after the rain," he told them. Mama Leia, his mother, was proud but also a little confused. "My son," she said one night, "I don't understand this business of yours. Are you really making money?" Bako smiled and held her hand. "Mama, don't worry. I'm doing something big. Soon you will never have to sell fruits again." She smiled softly. "May the ancestors guide you, my son," she said. As the days passed, Bako's office grew busier. Men came after farming hours and women came with their market earnings. Some brought small amounts, others brought all they had saved. Even young people came, hoping to start a better life. Bako wrote their names in a book, gave them small paper receipts, and told them to come back in 1 month for their profit. Every day Bako walked through the town with pride. People greeted him with respect. "Good morning, Mr. Bako," they would say. The children waved at him and the elders nodded in approval. He loved the attention. For the first time he felt powerful. He felt like a man who had made it. But inside his heart, a small voice whispered to him that something was not right. He had no city partners. There was no real business. He was using the money people gave him to buy more clothes, to eat at fancy places, and to show off his success. "I will think of a plan later," he told himself. "For now, let me enjoy." Meanwhile, the villagers dreamed of their future. Old Kato planned to buy 2 cows when he received his doubled money. Mama Leia wanted to repair her roof. A young farmer named Juma wanted to pay for his children's school fees. Everyone spoke of the coming day when they would be rich. At the market, people began to compare how much they had invested. "I gave 5,000, said one woman. "Bako promised I'll get 10,000 back next month." "You are lucky," another replied. "I could only give 2,000, but it will still double." Bako's name became the talk of Luanga. People said he was blessed by the spirits. Some even said he was smarter than the city men. When he passed by, everyone greeted him with smiles. But not everyone was sure. There was one man, a quiet teacher named Mosi, who watched Bako carefully. "Money does not grow on trees," he said to his friend one afternoon. "Something about this doesn't feel right." His friend shrugged. "Maybe you are jealous. Everyone is investing. Don't be left behind." Mosi sighed. He had seen such promises before. He decided to wait and watch. Bako, however, was too busy enjoying his new life to notice the doubt around him. He threw a big party one weekend, inviting the whole village. There was food, music, and laughter. People danced and praised him, calling him Bako the Wise. He stood before them, smiling proudly, and said, "This is only the beginning. Soon, Luanga will be the richest town in the region." That night, as the music faded and the people went home, Bako stood alone by his office, looking at the moon. He felt happy, but deep inside he knew he was walking on thin ice. He looked at the small box where he kept the villagers' money and whispered, "I will make it right soon." But even he did not know how. The wind blew softly across the empty market. The sign above his office creaked in the breeze, "Bako Prosperity Investments." The stars above shone bright, but behind Bako's smile, a shadow of fear began to grow, though he tried hard not to see it. As days turned into weeks, the name Bako Prosperity Investments spread far beyond the town of Luanga. People from nearby villages, Magesa, Tendo, and Rakuba, heard about the young man who could double money in a month. Word of mouth traveled faster than the wind. Men returning from the market spoke of Bako's business. Women carrying baskets of maize told each other, "If you give him just a little, he will give you twice as much back." Soon, strangers began arriving in Luanga. They came with bundles of money wrapped in old cloth, coins tied in small bags, and savings they had kept hidden for years. They walked proudly to Bako's office, where his new assistant, Nuru, sat at a wooden desk, smiling and recording names in a big book. Bako's office was now the busiest place in town. He had moved it from the small market hut to a larger building near the road, one with glass windows and a shiny door. On the wall hung posters with big words like, "Grow with us," and "Your future starts today." He even printed business cards that looked official, though the address was only half true. When people came to ask questions, Bako always spoke with confidence. "My friends," he would say, "you are now part of something great. My company trades in farm products and city stocks. We are building partnerships that will bring wealth to everyone." His voice was calm and full of pride. The villagers nodded, impressed by the big words they didn't fully understand. Behind the smiles, however, there was no real business. There were no partners, no farms, no city stocks. Bako had no idea how to trade or invest. But he had learned one thing from the city: people believe what looks rich. So he decided to look richer. Every morning he wore new shirts, polished shoes, and dark glasses. He walked through town with his chest high, greeting people warmly. Children waved and elders saluted him with respect. He bought a second motorbike, this one red and faster, so everyone could see how successful he was. His life became one long show. When he passed through the market, the women selling vegetables would say, "There goes Bako, the man of progress." And when the men gathered at the tea stall, they would talk about him like he was a city genius. But behind closed doors, Bako's hands shook whenever he looked at the money box. Every week, more people came to invest and the pile of money grew higher. He kept telling himself, "I will find a real business soon. I just need time." Yet he spent more and more on his new lifestyle: parties, fine clothes, and expensive food. One Friday evening he threw a big party at his house. There was music, laughter, and dancing. The smell of roasted meat filled the air. Bako stood in the center, holding a glass of soda and smiling proudly as people praised him. "You have changed our town," one man said. "You are a true leader." Bako laughed loudly. "This is just the beginning. Soon, every family here will have their own car. You will see." That night, he looked around the room filled with happy faces, and for a moment he almost believed his own lies. He told himself that he was helping people dream big, that maybe one day it would all come true. But deep in his heart he knew he was walking on a rope that could break any time. The next week, old Kato, one of his first investors, came to visit him. Kato was a quiet man with gray hair and kind eyes. He entered Bako's office slowly, holding his hat in his hands. "My son," he said softly, "I came to ask about my money. You said the profit would come this week." Bako smiled quickly and leaned back in his chair. "Ah, Baba Kato, no need to worry. Your money is growing even now. The profits are being processed. Give me one more week and you will see. Old Cato nodded, though he looked unsure. You know, I sold one of my cows to invest with you. I trust you, Bako. Don't let me down. I would never do that, Baba, Bako replied, forcing a laugh. You will thank me soon. After Cato left, Bako sat quietly. The room suddenly felt smaller. He could hear the sound of coins clinking in his drawer, and for the first time, it did not sound like success. It sounded like a warning. He took a deep breath and looked out the window. Outside, people were still smiling and waving at him. But he felt something dark growing inside him, fear. That night he couldn't sleep. He turned from side to side thinking about the money. He imagined what would happen if people found out there was no real business. They would hate me, he thought. They would never forgive me. But then he pushed the thought away. No, I just need more time. I will start something soon. To calm his mind, he told Nuru the next day to print more official papers, fake contracts, profit charts, and certificates with colorful stamps. When people come, show them these, he said. It will help them believe more. Nuru hesitated. Sir, should we not begin real trading? People will soon want results. Bako frowned slightly. Don't worry, Nuru. Everything is under control. But his voice cracked as he spoke. As the weeks went on, more and more people came. Farmers brought their harvest money, young men brought their savings, and women even sold jewelry to invest. Bako's box of money grew full, and he had to buy a bigger safe to hold it. Still, he kept spending carelessly. He bought a sound system, new curtains, and even sent gifts to his old friends in the city to show off. But cracks began to show. A few people started whispering. It has been 2 months, someone said at the market. Where are our profits? Another replied, maybe the payments are delayed. Bako is an honest man. Yes, a third person added, he will pay soon. We must be patient. When these whispers reached Bako, his heart pounded. He called another meeting and stood before the people with his usual confident smile. My friends, the business is growing fast, he said. Some city partners are delaying the transfer of money, but soon everything will be ready. Trust me. Patience is gold. The crowd nodded. His voice was calm, his words smooth, and for a moment their fears faded. But inside, Bako felt like he was sinking into quicksand. Days later, he met Nuru again late in the office. The assistant looked uneasy. Sir, Nuru said, some men from Rukuba were asking strong questions today. They said they want their money this week. Bako rubbed his head and sighed. I will handle it. Just tell them I'm meeting city partners tomorrow. But there were no partners. There was no tomorrow's plan. There was only fear, growing stronger each day. One night, when the streets were quiet and the wind blew softly through the trees, Bako walked to his safe and opened it. He stared at the money stacked inside, money that wasn't his. He touched the notes slowly and whispered, What have I done? For a moment he thought about returning it, about confessing and ending the lies. But then he imagined the laughter, the shame, the anger of the people who had trusted him. He closed the safe quickly, locked it, and sat on the floor. Outside, the dogs barked and the moonlight fell through the window, lighting his worried face. His world looked calm from the outside, but inside, it was falling apart. Still, the next morning, Bako put on his best shirt, wore his gold watch, and walked into town with his usual smile. People greeted him, unaware of the storm brewing beneath his calm surface. He waved back at them saying, Good morning, my people. Success is coming soon. But in his heart, the words felt heavy and hollow. Each lie he spoke was like a stone added to his chest. And though no one could see it yet, the web he had spun was beginning to close around him. Weeks turned into months, and the people of Luanga began to grow restless. The time Bako had promised for their profits had already passed, yet no one had received even a single coin. At first, he told them that the delay was due to bank issues and city partners taking longer than expected. The villagers believed him, at least for a little while, because they wanted to believe. They had trusted him with everything they had, and no one wanted to think they had been cheated. But as more time passed, their patience began to fade. People started to talk quietly in the market, at the water wells, and outside the church. Have you received your money yet? One woman would ask. The other would shake her head sadly. No, he keeps saying next week. Always next week. Soon the whispers grew louder. Bako has fooled us, someone said one morning at the tea stall. The words spread quickly from mouth to mouth, until the whole town seemed to be speaking about it. Old Cato, who had trusted Bako the most, became worried. He went to Bako's office again and knocked on the door. Bako came out smiling as usual, wearing a neat white shirt and his gold watch. Ah, Baba Cato, he said cheerfully. What brings you here today? Cato looked tired and uneasy. My son, he said slowly, you told me to wait 1 more week. That was a month ago. I need the money to buy medicine for my wife. Please tell me the truth, what is happening? Bako forced a laugh and put a hand on the old man's shoulder. Baba, don't worry. The money is safe. My city partners are processing the transfer. Just 2 more days, I promise you. Cato nodded, though his eyes were filled with doubt. He turned and walked away without another word. As Bako watched him go, his smile disappeared. His hands trembled slightly. He felt something cold in his chest, fear mixed with guilt. That evening, more people came to his office. A group of farmers from the nearby village of Tendo arrived with serious faces. We want our money, one of them said firmly. You said we would get double. It has been 3 months. Bako swallowed hard. My friends, please understand, business takes time. The profits are coming soon. You must be patient. But his words no longer sounded strong. The men looked at one another with suspicion. One of them muttered, I think he is lying. Another added, we should tell the chief. When they left, Bako sat in his office long after dark. The lamp flickered and the air felt heavy. He could hear the crickets outside and each sound made him more uneasy. He opened his safe and looked at the little money left inside. Most of it was gone. He had spent so much that there was barely enough to pay 1 or 2 people. He rubbed his forehead and whispered to himself, what have I done? The next morning, the first angry voice rose in the market. A woman named Zalika shouted, Bako has stolen our money. She had given him her savings to help her son go to school, and now she was desperate. People gathered around her, asking what happened. She told them everything. Soon others joined in. He lied to me too. He took my goat money. He is a thief. By the afternoon, the whole market was buzzing with anger. A small crowd formed near his office, shouting for answers. When Bako arrived, the people turned toward him like a wave. Where is our money, Bako? A man shouted. You said 1 month, cried a woman. Give us what you took, yelled another. Bako raised his hands, trying to calm them. My friends, please listen. The business is fine. The money will come soon, I promise. But the crowd only grew louder. Someone threw a stone that hit the wall near his office door. Bako's heart started pounding. Please, my friends, he shouted, but his voice was lost in the noise. That night, the village chief called him for a meeting. The chief, a tall, serious man named Mwanga, sat with folded arms. Bako, he said slowly, many people are complaining. You must show proof that their money is safe. Bako hesitated. Chief, I will bring the papers tomorrow, he said, his voice shaking slightly. Tomorrow, the chief repeated. If you fail, we will have to act. People are angry. Bako nodded and left quickly. His mind was racing. There were no papers that could save him now. He knew it was only a matter of time before everyone found out the truth. That evening, he walked through the quiet streets, hearing voices from open windows. Everywhere he went, people stopped talking and stared. Some pointed. Some whispered. A child shouted, That's the man who took our money. Bako felt a heavy shame in his chest. He reached his home and locked the door behind him. His heart pounded as he paced the floor. I have to leave, he whispered to himself. If I stay, they will destroy me. He packed a small bag with a few clothes and whatever money he could find. He looked around the house that had once been full of laughter and parties. Now it felt cold and empty. Outside, the night was silent except for the rustling of the trees. He stepped out quietly, pushing his motorbike down the road so no one would hear the engine. As he passed the market, he saw his office in the moonlight. The sign Bako Prosperity Investments hung crookedly, one corner broken by a stone. He stopped for a moment and stared at it. The memory of the day he opened that office came back to him, the smiles, the cheers, the dreams. It all felt like another lifetime. He sighed deeply and whispered, I am sorry, though no one was there to hear him. Then he climbed on his motorbike and rode away into the dark forest path. Behind him, the people of Luanga woke to an empty office and locked doors. The news spread quickly, Bako is gone. At first, many didn't believe it. They ran to his house, knocked on his door and shouted his name. But there was no answer. His motorbike tracks were the only sign of him. The anger that followed was fierce. Some cried, some cursed, and others sat quietly holding their heads in their hands. Mama Leah, his mother, wept the most. My son, she cried, why did you do this? Why? For days the town was filled with sorrow and shame. People blamed themselves for trusting him. Old Cato sat outside his home in silence, staring into the distance. He was like a son to me, he whispered. Now look what he has done. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Bako rode until his fuel ran out. He left the bike by the side of the path and began walking. The trees surrounded him, tall and dark. The night was cold and he had no food or water. For the first time in his life he felt completely alone. He thought of the faces of the people he had lied to, Mama Leia, Old Cato, the farmers, the mothers. Each memory cut into him like a blade. He had wanted to be rich, but now he was poorer than ever. He had lost not just money but trust, love and honor. The sound of crickets filled the air. Somewhere far behind him, a dog barked faintly. He looked up at the moon through the branches and whispered, "Maybe I can start again. Maybe I can make things right." But his voice was weak, and even he didn't believe his own words. The forest was silent except for the wind moving through the leaves. He kept walking, not knowing where the path would take him. The same man who had once dreamed of wealth was now running from his own shadow, from the lies he had built. And behind him, in the town of Luenga, the name Bako became a warning, a story parents would tell their children for years to come. Do not trust easy promises. Do not build your dreams on lies. Bako's motorbike roared through the night as he fled from Luenga, but his heart was louder than the engine. The cold air hit his face and every sound behind him made him think someone was following. The moonlight cut through the trees, showing him the narrow forest path ahead. He had no plan, no destination, only the need to escape the angry voices that still echoed in his mind. After riding for hours, the bike began to slow. It coughed and sputtered before finally stopping near a swamp. Bako kicked the pedal again and again, but the motor only groaned. The fuel was gone. He looked around. The forest was silent except for the croaking of frogs and the soft rustle of leaves. He was far from home. He parked the bike under a tree and sat on a fallen log. His stomach growled and he realized he hadn't eaten since morning. He searched his pockets and found only a few crumpled notes and some coins. He sighed deeply, staring at the dark water of the swamp. The reflection of the moon trembled on the surface like his heart inside his chest. As the night grew colder, he wrapped his arms around himself and tried to sleep, but the ground was hard and damp. The mosquitoes buzzed endlessly around his face. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of the people he had lied to, their angry eyes, their disappointed looks. He saw Old Cato, Mama Leia, Zalika, the farmers, all of them calling his name. When morning came he was weak and tired. He walked through the forest path, hoping to find a road or a small village. Hours passed and his legs ached. The sun burned his neck and sweat dripped from his face. He drank from a stream he found along the way, the water cool but muddy. Still, it gave him a bit of strength to keep moving. As night fell again, Bako's steps grew slower. He stumbled over roots and rocks and his eyes felt heavy. Hunger clawed at his stomach. He had no food, no money worth using, and no one to help him. For the first time in his life he truly felt what it meant to be poor, not in money but in spirit. The next day as he rested near a tree, he heard voices. He lifted his head and 3 men appeared from the bushes. They were tall, rough-looking and carried small knives. "You look lost, friend," one of them said with a grin. Bako stood up quickly. "Yes, my bike broke down. I just need some help." The men exchanged glances. "Help?" one of them said. "We can help. What do you have in that bag?" Before Bako could answer, they grabbed him. He tried to resist but he was too weak. They tore the bag from his hands, spilling his few clothes and the little money he had left. One man counted the notes and laughed. "Not much, but we'll take it." "Please," Bako begged, "I have nothing else." One of the thieves pushed him hard and he fell to the ground. Another kicked his side. "Then you should have stayed home," he said coldly. They walked away, leaving Bako lying in the dirt, his body aching, his face covered in dust. He stayed there for a long time, staring up at the sky through the branches. His body hurt, but his heart hurt even more. He whispered, "This is my punishment." He thought of how he had taken from others, lied to them, and laughed while they trusted him. Now he was the one who had lost everything. The following morning when he tried to stand, his legs trembled. He could barely walk. He dragged himself along the path, one slow step at a time. The forest seemed endless. He thought he might die there, unknown and forgotten. But just as he was about to fall, he heard a voice calling softly, "Hey, you there?" He turned his head and saw a woman carrying a basket of herbs. She was tall, wearing a bright cloth around her waist and a headscarf tied neatly. Her face showed kindness but also strength. She came closer and looked at him with concern. "You're hurt," she said. Bako nodded weakly. "Please? I need water." The woman quickly opened her basket, took out a small gourd and helped him drink. "You shouldn't be out here alone," she said. "My name is Zalika. I am a healer from a nearby village." Bako tried to speak but his voice was faint. I made mistakes." Zalika looked at him closely. "You can tell me later. For now you need to rest." She helped him stand and guided him through a narrow path that led to her small hut on the edge of the forest. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and smoke. She made him lie on a mat and cleaned his wounds carefully with warm water and leaves. For the next few days Bako stayed there as Zalika cared for him. She gave him soup, herbs for his fever, and a soft blanket to keep warm at night. Sometimes he woke in the middle of the night, sweating and calling out names in his sleep. Zalika would sit beside him and whisper, "You are safe now. Rest." When he was strong enough to sit up, Zalika asked gently, "Now tell me, who are you and what happened to you?" Bako looked down at his hands. They were thinner, rougher than before. His gold watch was gone, his fine clothes torn. He felt smaller somehow. After a long silence, he began to speak. "My name is Bako. I came from Luanga. I wanted to be rich. I started a business, but it was not real. I took people's money and lied to them. I thought I could fix it before anyone found out. But I couldn't. They discovered the truth. I ran away." Zalika listened quietly, her eyes calm and steady. "So you built your wealth on lies," she said softly. Bako nodded, his voice shaking. "I thought I was smart. I thought I could control everything. But now I have nothing left." Zalika placed her hand on his shoulder. "A man who deceives others builds a house with no roof. It cannot last," she said. "When the rains come, everything inside gets ruined." Bako felt tears welling in his eyes. "I wish I could go back and change what I did." "You can still change," Zalika said. "But first you must accept what you have done. You cannot heal without truth." That night, Bako lay awake thinking about her words. He realized that his lies had not only hurt others, they had destroyed him too. He remembered his mother's face, proud and happy when he first came home from the city. He remembered old Kato's kind voice. He remembered the trust in the people's eyes. And he remembered how easily he had broken it all. The next morning he asked Zalika for permission to leave. "I have to go back," he said. "I cannot hide forever." Zalika smiled faintly. "Then go with honesty this time. Let your heart lead your steps, not your greed." Before he left, she gave him a small pouch with healing herbs. "This will help you on your journey," she said. "And remember, every lie told returns to its speaker one day. Walk in truth and peace will follow." Bako thanked her deeply and began his walk back toward Luanga. The road was long, but this time he did not rush. Each step felt heavy with memory but also lighter with hope. The wind carried the smell of earth and rain, and for the first time in a long while, he felt something new, humility. He had lost his wealth, his pride, and his comfort, but somewhere in that loss, he had found something far more valuable, the beginning of wisdom. When Bako finally returned to Luanga, the sun was setting behind the hills, casting a golden light over the village. It had been many months since he ran away and much had changed. The once proud man who had promised riches now walked with slow, careful steps. His clothes were simple, his face thinner, his eyes softer. He no longer carried himself with the confidence of a businessman but with the humility of a man who had faced the weight of his own mistakes. The villagers noticed him as soon as he stepped onto the main road. Whispers spread quickly, "Bako has come back." Some people pointed, others frowned. The market women stopped selling their goods, the children paused their games, and the men looked up from their work. No one spoke to him at first. It was as if the whole village held its breath, waiting to see what he would do. Bako walked toward the center of the village where the large baobab tree stood, the same tree under which he once made his false promises of wealth. He stood there for a long moment, looking at the people gathering around. He could see familiar faces, old Kato, Mama Leah, Faraji the farmer, and others who had trusted him. Their faces showed pain and anger but also curiosity. Finally Bako spoke. His voice trembled at first but he didn't stop. "My friends, my brothers and sisters of Luanga," he began, "I have come back to ask for forgiveness. I know I deceived you. I made you believe in something that did not exist. I told you your money would grow but instead I used it for myself. I was blind with greed and I hurt all of you. I lost my way." The crowd remained silent. Only the sound of the wind moving through the trees could be heard. Bako took a deep breath and continued, "When I ran away I thought I could escape my guilt. But the forest taught me otherwise. I lost everything, my money, my pride, my comfort. And yet, in that loss I found something more important. I found truth. I met a woman who saved my life and opened my eyes. She told me, a man who deceives others builds a house with no roof, it cannot last. I now understand what she meant. He looked down for a moment, then raised his head again. I know I cannot erase what I have done. But I wish to make it right. I have come back not to hide but to face the truth. If you can forgive me, I will spend my life making up for my mistakes. For a long while no one spoke. The people looked at one another, unsure of what to say. Then old Cato stepped forward slowly, leaning on his stick. His face was stern but his eyes were thoughtful. Bako, he said, you caused great pain in this village. Many people lost their savings. Some went hungry because of your lies. Do you understand that? Bako nodded. I do, Baba. Every night, I see their faces in my dreams. Cato sighed and looked at the others. A man who confesses has already taken the first step toward change, he said softly. But words are easy. We will believe you only if your actions match your apology. Bako bowed his head deeply. Then I will show you, he said. From that day he began to work. He asked the villagers to give him small jobs, carrying sacks at the market, fixing fences, helping farmers in the fields. At first many refused. Some laughed at him, saying, so now the big businessman is just a worker? But Bako didn't argue. He only smiled and said, it's fair. I must earn back your trust. He worked from sunrise to sunset, his hands growing rough and blistered. The same hands that once counted money now planted seeds and repaired roofs. He ate simple food, sometimes only a bowl of porridge a day, and slept in a small hut at the edge of the village. But for the first time in his life, his sleep was peaceful. Weeks turned into months. Slowly the villagers began to see his change. One evening Mama Leia came to him with a bowl of stew. You have worked hard today, she said. Rest and eat. Her eyes, once filled with anger, now showed a touch of kindness. Another day old Cato called Bako to help with his goats. You still owe me money but you can start by helping with the fence, he said with a small smile. Bit by bit, Bako repaid what he could, not always with coins but with labor and honesty. He repaired houses, helped widows in their gardens, and even taught young boys how to manage small savings properly. Do not chase easy money, he told them. If someone says you'll become rich overnight, walk away. Real success takes time and truth. The children listened, wide-eyed, as he told them his story, not as a proud man but as a warning. I wanted to fly before learning to walk, he said one afternoon, sitting under the same baobab tree. But greed broke my wings. Don't make the same mistake. Over time, people began to respect him again, not for what he owned but for how he lived. He had become humble, patient, and kind. When others were in trouble, he was often the first to help. When someone lost money or crops, he shared what little he had. One day, a stranger came to the village, claiming to have a new business idea. He promised the villagers quick profits if they invested right away. Some were tempted, but before anyone could answer, an elder raised his hand and said, Remember Bako, the man who learned the hard way that lies cannot feed the soul. The stranger left the next day, realizing his tricks would not work in Luanga. As for Bako, he continued to live quietly, never seeking praise. Sometimes he visited the nearby forest where Zalika had saved him. He would leave flowers by the path and whisper, Thank you. Years later, when the people of Luanga spoke of him, they didn't call him a liar anymore. They said, Bako made mistakes but he changed. He taught us to be wise and he taught us to forgive. And whenever the young men dreamed of quick success, their parents would tell them, If you want to grow, work honestly. Don't follow the path of lies. Even gold loses its shine when it's built on deceit. Bako never became rich again, but he found something far greater, peace. His heart, once filled with pride, now carried wisdom. He learned that true wealth is not in coins or houses, but in honesty, trust, and kindness. And in the evenings as the sun sank behind the hills, Bako would sit outside his small hut, watching the children laugh and play. He would smile quietly and whisper to himself, I was once lost but now I am found. The wind would blow softly through the trees, carrying his words through the village. And those who heard them would remember his story, the story of a man who fell through greed but rose again through truth.